Ashley seized the man's wrist with a grip like forged steel, her movements swift and precise. With one decisive twist, he let go, his face contorting in shock and pain. "Let me make one thing perfectly clear," she said, her voice cutting through the suffocating silence of the gym. "You never touch me." He stumbled back, anger flashing in his eyes as he charged forward again. Ashley sidestepped smoothly, her movements fluid, and swept his legs out from under him. He hit the ground with a resounding thud, the gym erupting into startled shouts and chaos. This isn't just the story of a resilient woman standing her ground in a gym. It's the beginning of a journey into strength, secrets, and the battle to claim her freedom. What you've just witnessed is merely the first chapter of something far greater. Follow Ashley as she unravels the events that shaped her into the person she is today. The story begins. The Citicore Fitness Gym in Dallas buzzed with the usual post-work chaos. Machines clanged, sneakers squeaked on rubber floors, and music throbbed faintly in the background. Amidst the crowd was Ashley, a 35-year-old black woman exuding confidence and focus. Her workout routine was precise: deadlifts, burpees, pull-ups. She was quiet, no nonsense, and absolutely uninterested in drawing attention. Today was no different. Dressed in her familiar black leggings and tank top, her headphones in place as a silent signal that she wasn't here for small talk, Ashley adjusted the weight on the squat rack when a man approached her. His presence was sudden, like an unwelcome storm cloud. He was around 45, broad-shouldered, clearly someone who spent a lot of time in the gym, but there was something off about him. His smirk when he noticed her made Ashley instinctively adjust her stance. "You're doing this wrong," he said, his tone dripping with disdain. Ashley raised an eyebrow, removing one earbud, and replied evenly, "Excuse me? That weight," he pointed to the barbells, "you're not setting it right. You could hurt yourself." Ashley offered a faint smile. "Thanks, but I'm fine." Yet he didn't leave. Instead, he crossed his arms and stood there, almost claiming the equipment as his own. "I've been training here for years," he continued. "Let me show you the right way." "No need," Ashley replied firmly, popping her earbud back in and turning back to the barbell. His smirk vanished, replaced by a look of frustration. He muttered something under his breath that Ashley didn't catch but could feel in the air. A few people glanced over, sensing the tension, but no one intervened. This was one of those moments when people convince themselves it's not their business. Ashley continued with her reps, smooth and controlled, but he stayed there, watching her with mounting irritation. Every time she lifted the weight, his discomfort deepened, his disbelief palpable. She switched to another exercise, but he seemed to find new reasons to linger, muttering criticism she ignored. Then inevitably it happened. As Ashley moved to the chest press, adjusting the weights, he raised his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "Women like you think you know everything, don't you?" She stopped mid-motion, slowly turning to face him. Her expression remained calm, but her eyes burned with intensity. "What do you mean?" The room fell eerily silent, the clinking of weights and distant conversations fading as the air seemed to thicken. A few people turned their heads, curious but hesitant to get involved. He shrugged, clearly emboldened by the attention. "I'm just saying, maybe you should focus on what you're good at." Ashley didn't take the bait. She held his gaze for a moment, a sharp, unwavering look, then coolly turned back to her workout. But the atmosphere had shifted, an invisible line drawn. It was only a matter of time before someone would cross it. He wouldn't let up. His words hung in the air, sharp and bitter, thickening the atmosphere around them. Ashley felt his gaze like a weight, but she continued her workout, ignoring the rising tension. As she moved to the water fountain, just a few steps away, she assessed the situation. She'd dealt with men like him before. Arrogant, insecure, desperate to dominate any space they entered. She wasn't intimidated. Years of training had taught her how to stay calm under pressure, but that didn't mean she didn't feel the tension of the moment. As Ashley reached for her water bottle, he followed her. Leaning against the wall, arms crossed, his jaw clenched in frustration. "Hey, I'm talking to you," he said. Ashley paused, gripping the bottle tightly, but she didn't look at him. She took a slow sip, capped the bottle deliberately, each movement calm and measured. The room held its breath, but she knew better than to escalate things further. Look, he continued, his tone dripping with disdain. You don't have to act tough if you're struggling. Come on, I can help. Ashley turned to face him, her voice steady and cold. Struggling? The only thing I'm struggling with is your inability to leave me alone. A few people in the gym glanced over, sensing the shift in her tone. Some even stopped, exchanging looks, silently wondering if he would back off or if she would let it slide. He chuckled, but it was a sharp, humorless laugh. You think you're better than me? He shouted, stepping closer. What makes you so special? Ashley narrowed her eyes, but kept her voice even. Nothing special. I just know how to handle myself. What about you? The words hit a nerve. His face darkened, and he took another step forward, his voice dropping to a menacing tone. You better watch your mouth. The air in the gym was now so tense it felt like it could snap at any moment. No one was pretending not to notice. A young man running on the treadmill hesitated, glancing between Ashley and the man, unsure whether to intervene. But Ashley caught his eye and subtly shook her head, signaling that it wasn't necessary. She didn't need anyone to step in, not yet. But the man wasn't just angry. He was losing control. Everyone in the gym could feel the moment teetering on the edge of something dangerous. His anger flared, fists clenched at his sides as he took another step forward, invading Ashley's personal space. She didn't flinch. Instead, she stood tall, her gaze unwavering, calm yet resolute. It wasn't defiance. It was control, a silent message that she wasn't afraid. Big mouth, he spat, his words loud enough to echo across the gym. At this point, the whole room was taut with tension. A few staff members at the counter whispered to each other, unsure if they should intervene, while others remained frozen, caught in helplessness, wanting to help but unsure how. Ashley inhaled deeply, exhaling slowly. You need to calm down, she said firmly, her voice devoid of anger, only authority. It wasn't advice, it was an order. But her words only fueled his anger further. He reached out, grabbing her arm with a tight grip. The sound of sharp breaths filled the room, everyone frozen in silence. Ashley didn't move immediately. Her body stood still, as if calculating the situation. What are you going to do? He taunted, tightening his hold on her arm. And in that instant, everything shifted. Ashley moved with such speed that the man didn't have time to process what was happening. Her free hand shot up, gripping his wrist like a steel vise. With a swift and precise motion, she twisted his arm, forcing him to release her. The sudden change in the situation left him stunned, his face contorting in shock and pain as Ashley took a step back, creating space while maintaining full control. Let me make one thing clear, she said, her voice steady and sharp, cutting through the stunned silence of the gym. Never touch me. He staggered back, clutching his wrist, his earlier arrogance rapidly dissolving. But instead of backing down, he screamed in fury and charged at Ashley. This time, she didn't hold back. She easily dodged his clumsy attack, using his own momentum against him. In one seamless move, she swept his legs out from under him, sending him crashing to the floor with a loud thud. The gym erupted in chaos, people screaming, scrambling to get out of the way, and a few pulling out their phones to capture the scene. He groaned, dazed and humiliated, while Ashley stood firm, unwavering on the floor, her posture strong and unshaken. You really don't know when to stop, do you? She said, her voice low enough for only him to hear. For a moment, it seemed like he was considering his next move, but her gaze froze him in place. She wasn't just confident. She was trained, dangerous. The realization came too late, but the fear in his eyes spoke volumes. The damage had been done, and now the entire gym was witnessing not only his aggression, but also his utter humiliation as he had been decisively beaten by someone he had underestimated. The room buzzed with whispers, the click of camera shutters filling the space. Ashley remained steady, breathing evenly, her eyes scanning the room. Her body language was calm but commanding, as if daring anyone to cross the line. The man, still lying on the floor, struggled to get up, his face a mix of rage, shame, and confusion. You're crazy, he shouted, pointing at her like an animal backed into a corner. You think you can? Enough, Ashley interrupted, her voice cutting through his words like a blade. You've embarrassed yourself enough. Finally, a gym staff member, a young woman, stepped forward, her hands trembling, her wide eyes filled with fear. Sir, she said, her voice shaky, you need to leave now. He stood still for a moment, as if considering a defiant response, but the looks of anger and disdain from those around him made it impossible to resist. Shoulders slumped, he lowered his gaze, defeated. He stepped back, muttering something inaudible under his breath, before hastily grabbing his bag from the nearby chair and storming out, slamming the glass door so hard it rattled. As the door closed behind him, the entire room seemed to exhale in relief. One person clapped, then another, until a ripple of applause spread throughout the gym. Ashley raised her hand, signaling for silence. It's over, she said simply. The crowd began to disperse, some returning to their workouts, while others still whispered and sneaked glances at her. A young man approached, still holding his phone. That was incredible, he said, his voice filled with admiration. Are you some kind of martial arts artist? Ashley gave a small smile, but her eyes remained serious. Something like that, she replied, offering no further explanation. A middle-aged woman from the gym came over. Are you all right? That was terrifying to watch. I'm fine, Ashley answered, her voice calm but firm. Thanks for asking. The barista from the counter appeared again, twisting her hands nervously. I'm so sorry. I should have intervened earlier. I just didn't know. You did what you could. Ashley cut in, her expression softening. Not everyone knows how to handle situations like that. The employee nodded, still uneasy. We should call the police. He might come back. Ashley paused for a moment, then shook her head. No need, she said finally. He won't be coming back. Trust me. Her tone was confident, leaving no room for doubt. She turned and walked toward the locker room to grab her things. But as she walked away, the murmurs continued, and the weight of what had just happened lingered in the air, leaving everyone to grapple with their own thoughts. Ashley entered the locker room, her steps purposeful and resolute. As she reached for her gym bag, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirror. Her face calm, composed, no trace of victory or triumph. There was no joy in her expression, no sense of conquest. This wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was a statement that respect isn't something up for negotiation. She quietly packed her things, allowing the excitement of the moment to fade. Just as she was zipping up her bag, the barista, whose name tag read Emily, slowly entered. She stood near the door, nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. Can I ask you something? She said. Ashley turned, her gaze steady yet warm. Of course. Emily hesitated for a moment, then spoke. How do you stay so calm? I mean, he was so aggressive, and you just handled it like it was nothing. Ashley leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. It's not about staying calm, she said. It's knowing you can take care of yourself. Fear disappears when you're prepared. Emily tilted her head, curious. So, were you trained in some sort of military thing? Ashley gave a slight nod. I served as a Navy SEAL for over a decade. I've faced situations much tougher than that. Emily's eyes widened in surprise. Wow, that explains a lot, but it's not just the training, Ashley said, her voice serious. It's also about knowing when to act and when to let go. He was not just angry. He was also deeply insecure. People like him often target easy prey, and when you show them that you are not one of those, they don't know how to react. Emily nodded slowly, as if processing the weight of Ashley's words. I wish I could be as brave as you. You can, Ashley replied simply. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's standing firm when it matters. Emily listened intently, and at that moment, the locker room door creaked open. The middle-aged woman, who had checked on Ashley earlier, peeked in and softly spoke. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to thank you. You handled everything so gracefully. It really made me think about all the times I've let others walk all over me. Ashley gave a small, knowing smile and stood up. Standing up for yourself isn't always easy, but it's necessary, not just for you, but for those around you. The woman nodded thoughtfully. You're right. I think I need to reassess things. Ashley threw her bag over her shoulder. We all need reminders. She walked out of the locker room and into the cool evening air, a quiet sense of resolve surrounding her. She hadn't planned what had happened, but perhaps things had unfolded the way they were meant to. Perhaps someone in that gym needed to see that strength doesn't always come from physical power, but from composure, resilience, and refusing to let ignorance win. But even as she approached her car, Ashley knew this story wasn't just about her. It was about everyone in that gym, those who would leave with a new perspective, a lesson etched into their minds about respect, courage, and the danger of underestimating others based on assumptions. The gym gradually emptied out that evening, but the event remained fresh in everyone's mind. Conversations spread among the regulars, some recalling what they had witnessed, others reflecting on their own reactions. Why had they hesitated? What would they have done differently? The confrontation had not only shocked everyone, but had forced them to question their own assumptions and their silence. Emily, still shaken but inspired, sat at the counter after her shift, scrolling through her phone. The video of Ashley's calm, yet decisive actions had begun to spread online. Comments flooded in, filled with admiration, disbelief, and even some reflections. You handled it like a pro. This is true strength. Why didn't anyone intervene earlier? The incident wasn't just about what had happened. It was about what it revealed. Too often, people underestimate others, perhaps due to arrogance, prejudice, or ignorance. Ashley had shattered those illusions with precision and grace, and in doing so, she became a symbol of quiet strength. Ashley sat at home, sipping a cup of tea as her dog curled up at her feet. Her phone buzzed with messages from gym members thanking her, praising her courage, and asking for advice. She appreciated the sentiment, but she didn't see herself as a hero. For her, it wasn't about the spotlight. It was about standing firm in the face of injustice, no matter how big or small the stage. In the weeks that followed, she returned to the gym as unassuming as ever. But this time, things were different. The way people greeted her had changed, the respect unmistakable in their smiles and nods. Emily, still a bit shy, approached her and handed her a card. I just want to thank you, Emily said. You've inspired me. Ashley opened the card once she got home. Inside, the simple words read, You reminded me that strength comes in many forms. Thank you for showing me what it truly means to stand firm. It wasn't just Emily. Everyone who had witnessed the confrontation that day, or even just heard about it, walked away with a lesson. Respect must be earned, not given. Strength isn't about size or bravado. It's about resolve and courage. It's the quiet act of standing tall when the world expects you to fall. As for the man, he had disappeared from the gym entirely. Whether out of shame or fear, no one knew, but his actions had left a lasting impact. Not the kind of impact he had intended, but a clear reminder of what happens when ignorance meets resilience. Ashley reflected on the event, and a fleeting thought crossed her mind. Perhaps the world didn't need more heroes. Perhaps it only needed those willing to stand firm and demand the respect they deserve. This story serves as a reminder of the value of self-assurance, courage, and mutual respect. Have you ever faced a situation where you had to stand up for yourself or someone else? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might inspire others and help spread positive values. If you found this story meaningful, don't hesitate to share it with your friends and loved ones, so together we can spread the message of inner strength and resilience. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive the latest updates. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the intention of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any mistakes, kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.